Mm, mm, mm. Let's get it started. Hello, Billy Ho here. Welcome to the DFS Picks, Pivots, and Strategy Show. Just looking back real quick to last week's Arnold Palmer, really gusty, windy weekend, who saw Scotty Too Hottie get it done again. That man can get down in the wind, dude. He was nails. Good performance. Also, congratulations to hopefully a new joinee to our Discord, Ryan Tompkins. He's at Maroon44, I think, something like that on Twitter. He won the Billy Ho. He's a Kentucky boy out of Lexington, Big Blue Nation. So congrats to him. And just second place, Tully. He's been up the board quite a bit here lately, and that was a nice second place finish by him. All righty then. It's a new week. We have a new day. So let's get it started. And here we are. Main screen as always. Please subscribe and follow me on Twitter at BILLYAH40 at BillYah40. DM me and I'll invite you to the flop house. We can get in there and do some Discord damage. So everybody in the comments section, you can give me your pick to win, or you can give me an interesting sub 7K pick, or even better, somebody in that mid 7K range picking a fade. Tournament setup, the breakdown, the best part of the Florida swing, baby. The players, TPC Sawgrass, Pete Dye designed tester. Features roughly 33-yard wide Bermuda grass fairways and 5,500 square feet Bermuda grass greens, which this time of the year will be overseeded with some POA, because it's more prevalent now that it's in March. These smallish greens tend to run pretty firm and fast on the stem, so be mindful of that. And of course, water in play everywhere. And number 17, as you can see in the picture, is the signature hole. One thing I did want to get onto, let's jump over to the skill set and the standard approach. Greens gained, 4 par 5s, so you got to attack those par 5s. They are gettable. That's where you're going to score most of your points. There is also a drivable par 4 that I would include as a technical par 5. Strokes gained off the tee. You don't have to be accurate, as I was kind of looking into a little bit further in this course. They tend to not grow the rough real high, so even if you miss the fairway, you're still have a look, and they want you to fire at these pins. Pete Dye designed is to make you challenge you on those approach shots. So they want you up in there. And also around the green is going to feature some different play, as the greens are shaved down. And so you're going to see a lot more of the old Texas wedge, AKA putter, from off the greens. To win the money on DK this week, I feel like your player is going to need to definitely hit those par 5s and take advantage of the 2 350 to 400 par 4s and the drivable one as well. And putting is obviously going to lead you to the promised land. Last but not least, it's going to be he who avoids the water is going to have a good time. Now, when looking at the golfers, we have star power for this monster tourney. It's going to be too difficult to cover them all. So I am really going to concentrate on 8K and up. I've picked out a whole bunch of them, and some in the mid 7s, and I'm not even going to mess with the 6K range. I am going to post some picks and likes sub 7 on Twitter. So hit me up on Twitter. So let's go. First up, John Rahm, ball striking, on fire, short game, crap. And he's been okay here. He's almost like been two different players lately. But it seems to me that the part of his game is most easily correctable is that around the green. I think you get around the chip and green, and especially now that the shaved greens are coming up, he might be able to eliminate one of the two. But I think he'll be fine at the top price guy. He's probably going to be slightly overlooked because everybody's going to flock to Morikawa and JT. Now down, Rahm is FYI $11,100 on DK. Rory comes in second at 10,800. And man, after such a great Thursday, he really struggled in the windy conditions over the weekend at Bay Hill. 2 back-to-back 76s and lost strokes across the board. I think he gained a little bit ball striking Sunday, but I don't know about strokes gained when you have that kind of wind and that many players just trunk slamming it. It's pretty easy to gain strokes on the field if you're better than they are, so it's hard to say. But I think he could do well at Sawgrass. He obviously won a couple of years ago. And I think he'll be amongst the lowest owned of that 10K crowd. But gun to head, with only a $300 difference between him and Rahm, I'm going Rahm. Sorry. All right, here we go. Colin Morikawa, 10,700. Everybody's favorite chalk of the year. Everybody's been licking their chops to go all in on him this week. Let me tell you. He did his thing last year in his first time at Sawgrass. He gained 3+ in each category off the tee and approach. But he did lose 4 strokes in the short game. So if he's going to be like the uber 22-25% chalk, I mean, I'll still play him, but I'm going to maybe single him in the smaller tournaments and the smaller GPPs, and maybe try to hope that his putter doesn't and short game doesn't cooperate with him this week, because Bermuda's not his preferred surface. So that could be a problem. Everything else is lined up, though. And next is my dude. You can see right above me, Justin Thomas, 10,400. That's 10-4. Good buddy. He's a sweet price and a chalk that I'll probably eat. He won this thing last year and will look to return to glory once again. He showed the world he was the best iron player in the game last year, gaining a monster 6.5 strokes on approach. He's the kind of guy that don't need to have a fire putting week to beat your ass on the golf course. He can do it in other ways. As long as he's anywhere near zero putting, he's in there. I think he competes to defend the title. I'd love to see him hit a back-to-back. Next up, Victor Hovland, 10,100. The big Swede kind of let me down at API. He had he pulled it out yesterday, I would have likely won twice as much as I did. I did pretty good, so I'm not complaining. So, and that's just the breaks. But he held it together pretty well. And in all honesty, it just, when the conditions got to be so bad like that, it really, really brought around the green game into play. And that's just not his type of game. He's tee to green. He's fairways and greens. So I think he'll be okay here. He missed the cut last year, but that means nothing. I am not taking course history into a large account because anybody can miss the cut here. So we just got to decide if Vic is going to have a hangover from API going right down to the wire, and those conditions, it has to wear on you mentally. 2 straight days of just howling winds and just trying to keep the ball in play and trying to keep it on the green and trying not to mess up your putting. But we'll see. Cantlay, 9,900. He could be the captain of the hashtag fade the 10K lineups this week for me. Since I'm not leaning too heavily on course history, I'm not sure where his game's at. I do know he's got the skills to roll. So we'll have to see. Approach game is a bit of a concern as he lost at a few events recently. And I would also prefer him on bent grass greens, but he's getting to be one of those players where he can compete on multiple different type courses. He's not really like a course horse kind of guy. He can win at Memorial, he can win at, East Lake, various courses. DJ, go DJ. Not my DJ. 9,800. Talk about not knowing where somebody's game's at. DJ, geez. He basically trunk slammed me at Genesis on Thursday, giving it up. And he did come back on the back nine Friday and was all right, but I don't know. He's got a pretty good record here and could compete if he brings his brain along with his brawn. He looked out of sorts at Genesis, like he just confused on what to do next. I don't know. He didn't look right to me. If he's distracted at all, he could find the water. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. If ownership, it plays favorably, then we might be doing some DJ. Next up, Xander X-Man Schauffele. The X-Man has had a second place finish here and then 2 straight missed cuts, which not surprising. I mean, it's, I'd be suspicious of anybody carrying a major cut streak at Sawgrass coming in. But X ranks 5th in my recent form model. He seems to be getting his ball striking in order. And that's over his last 11 rounds. And I'll be on ownership watch with him. That might dictate how heavily I go. And also, I'm going to look into weather and tee draw on some of these guys. If there's a tiebreaker in that category, I'm going to look at that as well, because there's just so many top-notch plays up here. And here comes another one. Hideki Matsuyama, Deki bot, bounced back at the API Sunday and was one of the few subpar scorers. He's a guy we know can struggle with the flat stick, but he has been pretty damn good at that here lately. So he putted all right. He only lost 1 stroke last week on some really, really firm, fast, tough, windy greens. And, everybody loves a sub 10K Deki. So hopefully the ownership will cooperate. So he's always in play. Now, the big beefy man, Bryson, up next at 9,500. And they always say, beware of the injured golfer. Bryson decided to skip the API title defense to get an extra week to prepare for the Players. And just real quick, I apologize on the slideshow here. I didn't really this is the course history. I'm just going to stop and we'll address it real quick. But like I said, course history is not relevant for me. So I guess that's probably why my mind slipped a little bit. But I got JT, Berger, Jason Day, DJ, Webb Simpson, and Sergio. And here's a first look at the recent form top 25 model. And we'll continue with Bryson. It made a nice run here. I don't think anybody's going to really pull the trigger on him. So I like him this week, I think, because the fact that he can dial it back and the fact that he has had some hip injuries, that maybe he will be forced to dial it back. He may have to hit irons and, hybrids and stuff off the tee because he can't line up that big dog and just do that big violent swing he does. So we'll be looking for that. And if he can hit some fairways with smaller clubs, that's great. his approach game is always somewhat of a concern because he almost gets too close sometimes. So maybe a little farther back, he'll be all right. And without the other concern is the lack of greens books. And since we haven't seen much of Bryson, I'm not 100% how much it's affecting him, but he is one of the biggest users and benefactors of those green books. So we shall see what's up with that. Cam Smith, 9,400. He really hasn't been all that great since that win at the Century. He lost nearly 4 strokes off the tee at Genesis, and that could typically get you in trouble here at the Pete Dye Sawgrass. Got to keep an eye out on him. The man can putt like fire and make tons of birdies, but he also can tend to find the water with that driver. So temper your expectations on old Cam. He might actually be a pass for me this week. I'll use him elsewhere. Maybe play in Showdown if he looks good Thursday. We'll see. Next man up, Scotty Shuffler, 9,200. Last week's champ. What can you say? Dude was tough. And just real quick, he needed a 2-putt on 18 from approximately 80 feet for par to secure that win. And my dude rolled it up to, I don't know, about a foot and a half tap in. I mean, just what a great putt. And actually, speaking of putting, I think he's actually developing a good stroke. I think he's been putting the work in. I think he's 4th in the 6-month long-term model overall rank, and his tee to green is also strong. The dude scores like a banshee, makes a ton of birdies. I can't see why he wouldn't back it up. You know, he's already proven he's done it once before. So he came off that win at Wimpo and backed it up at Genesis. All right. Next guy up, 9K, Jordan Spieth. Oh boy, he's not popping in any model of mine, that's for sure. And he's really actually pretty poor in all the wrong places. You know, 100th in fairways gained, 108th in short game, which is uncharacteristic of him, and 96th in birdie or better. Not good. He's a definite no-go. Willie Z, 8,900. And man, Willie Z, make a putt, son, inside of 5 feet. I mean, somebody that he legit looked like he had the yips, like he was just not comfortable with those little 3-foot short putts. So maybe he needs to leave it further back. I don't know. But I love him this week, though, man. First in approach, 17th in DK points. I kind of feel like he's almost a safe play at a place like Sawgrass. I think he'll avoid the water. He had a good finish here last year. Next up is a guy I really like, sets up well, is Daniel Berger, 8,800, and he's probably going to be very popular. Maybe the highest guy on the whole slate since he's so cheap. I mean, he deserves to be $1,000 more expensive than this, 9,800 easily. He sets up well for the course, and I'm hoping he's turned the corner on the putting. He was really suffering, and people were talking about how the lack of the greens books has affected some golfers, and he might be one of them. But I'm not 100% sure on that. It's hard to say. It's too early to tell. But he gained in his last event, and he damn near won Honda, and he's had a week to get over that. So I think he's a full go. He's a core play to me. Now, the next guy I'm not 100 on, I think he'll be very popular, is Louis Ustasen at 8,700. Another guy that he lines up very well for this course. He's top 10 in my recent form model and in all the right categories. He loves the 2 scoreable 350 to 400 short par 4s, birdie or better, short game and DraftKings points. He was uncharacteristically bad on approach at Honda. So maybe the wind had some effect on him. He lost multiple strokes on approach. But I feel like he could bounce back from that. All right. Gonna be some interesting pivots in this range. Another guy we can't go without mentioning is Joaquin Neiman, the recent winner of the Genesis. He's 8,400. He's rested and ready now. I tried to fire him right back the following week, and he looked tired. He would start out really well. He'd be 3 or 4 under through 7, 9 holes, and then give it all back on the back 9. And he just looks like he was ready for a nap when he approached 18. So I think he had some fatigue factor going on. His 2-month recent form ranks 5th, and he's number 1 in DK points. Top 10 in most of the rest of the categories, but that's largely due to how well he struck it at Genesis. I will be curious on how popular he gets at 8,400. I feel like it's a bit pricey. Had he not won Genesis, he'd be in the mid 7s, probably low 7s. But he's definitely a play. Next up, Sung JM, my man, bounce back week. I like his price, and the recent form is still good. He's always good on the par 5s. He's good off the tee, always gains strokes there. And the irons, he can dial them in at certain occasions. And the only thing that concerns me, and I mentioned it before, is his one off round. He tends to have that one bad round. And is it coming Thursday or Friday? Because if he finds the water or something off on like he had this god awful, I'll just bring it up real quick. Oh, he was 120, 100, maybe not even that far in the bunker, playing to the flag, and hit it chunky out of the bunker into the water. Just a terrible looking shot. So if he makes mistakes like that and finds the water on 17 once or twice, he could shoot himself out of the tournament pretty quick. But as long as he, and your guess is as good as mine if he does or he doesn't, I think he'll be popular enough. He'll be 12 to 15%, I think. But man, if he can put 4 rounds together, he is going to be in the top 10 easily. Next up, Billy Ho, my namesake, Billy Hustle. Almost got it done at API, man. He was really close. You got to love his grit. He had a god-awful opening 9 there. He was like 4 over, 5 over, and then just grinded, and he even had a birdie putt, but not makeable. But it was a putt to tie. So, he was right there. My only fear with him is that maybe he's grinding too much and that he might be wearing down a little bit, but he really wants a win in Florida bad. So I'm still going to play him. And next slide is actually the 25 through 50 for the recent form model. I went back 6 months. I feel like the fall swing covers recent form. Actually, when I mention recent form, I shouldn't say that. I should say more long-term form, 6 months, really, because you're getting up to, as you can see, 30 to 40 rounds. And that's fairly long-term. So I should refer to that as a longer term, because here in a bit, I keep mentioning short-term form, and those are the models with the same rankings, tee to green, fairways, all the same categories, same percentages, just dialing it back to 2 months, since we are in 2 months, January, February. So 2022, I figure that's a good recent form. Sometimes I run a month. So you will hear me mention the amount of time. Okay. So we left off at Billy, firm play. Next up, Shane Lowry. Man, dude came to play at Honda, gained 7 strokes on approach. Almost won it bogey-free golf on Sunday was lights out. I mean, he played well enough to deserve the win, that's for sure. And he looks poised for another great performance. And you're not going to have a whole lot of stats on him because that was really his first real outing in the States. You could probably check him out, but he showed me all I needed to see. The guy is a good ball striker. He's performed here before. He had an 8th place finish here last year. I think he'll be just fine. He almost feels like a pretty good fit. I think he'll be savvy around the greens, with the putter and whatnot. Because over in Ireland and whatnot, those guys have a lot of shaved down greens where they putt uphill and whatnot. So like him. Next guy I like a lot, and everybody else will too. Matt Fitzpatrick, 7,700. He had another low-key top 10, and the lack of a sub 70 round over that week at API, I think cost him a chance to really be up there. But he ranks 3rd in the model over the last month, 2nd in par 5s, and 7th in DK points. Probably the most popular 7K player, but that's well worth it to me. I guess I'll go ahead and talk about him. It's gonna be the big mystery all week, but Webb Simpson at 7,600. We got little or no stats on him recently. He was terrible at Sony. Something must be wrong with him. He WD'd from the Waste Management. Of course, he's won at, and of course, he fits great. And he didn't give a reason. He didn't say my neck, my back, my tummy, nothing. So what's the big secret here, Webb? I mean, come on, bro. So if he goes like way under owned, and then if you keep an eye on Twitter, and I'll try to keep the Discord up to date and post myself on Twitter and see what I can find out, and we'll just keep our ear to the ground. We'll see. Next up, my dude Russell Henley came through last week. He's $7,400, and another course he seems to not play well at, but he's making a ton of birdies. His recent form is 2nd in my model, and of course he's going to be popping in models. And he made a lot of birdies last week. He played very well. He's once again in the player pool, and hopefully he'll go overlooked, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Here's another model for you to take a look at. Next up, we're getting down into the 7,000s. So basically, I'm going to just kind of cruise through this and mention some key players. I'm going to lump Casey, Fleetwood, and Sergio all at $7,400. And I tell you, as I mentioned before, I'll be a bit suspicious of a cut streak at Sawgrass. And guess who the number one suspect is? Sergio. He's made like 9 cuts in a row or something like that. So everybody's going to look at that and go, "Ooh, let's play Sergio. He made the cut last week and he played all right." But cut streaks are made to be broken eventually. So, he could put a couple in the water easily. And if he wears those dorky friggin' glasses he had on last week that looked like a preteen 12-year-old girl's beach sunglasses. I mean, they look like there's some kind of prescription. I looked at them closer. They look like some kind of tinted, maybe just a blue blockers or some shit. I don't know, but they were pretty dorky looking. But I'm not playing him. I'm not playing Fleetwood. And Casey, I will hold for another chance, depending on how popular he gets. He was awful over the weekend. I mean, he really made your 6 of 6 if you had Casey look like a 5 of 6. I really didn't look, but he couldn't have scored 5 or 6 DraftKings points the whole weekend. He was awful, and that scares me. But the next guy up, who was awful, didn't make the cut again. Patrick Reed, 7,300. I just still feel like he's eventually going to get there. He always goes about 20 to 25 holes playing pretty well, and then he just friggin' falls apart. So I don't know. Like I said before, it's just going to be some sprinkles. I'll put him in the dollar 3-putt in a lineup. I'll put him in the dollar divot in a lineup. And if I happen to throw out some quarter jukebox lineups or something like that, I'd put him in 2 or 3 of those, just, just in case, because he's going to be another under 2% again. And especially with this guy next to him, Corey Connors, it's like George Costanza. He's back, baby. I don't know if he's back, but his ball striking he was very good at API. And of course, he struggles with the putter. He would have really been up there had he made a couple of putts, but I think he's a core play this week. He had an excellent finish last year. And if he's got his ball striking back, he'll be okay around these shaved greens. I like him. He's a cut maker with massive upside. Next guy, Gooch Taylor. Gooch. I love me some Gooch, man. He was really good last week. Oh man, if he would have won, back the Brinks truck up. Just kidding. But I would have been I'd be buying new equipment for these podcasts. Believe that. Unfortunate collapse on that front 9, but he did hang in there and he didn't fall. He could have fell out to 25th or something, but he finished in the top 10, a solid 7th. And man, he fits the mold for here. His driver is just a little crazy sometimes, as you saw probably yesterday. If you watched, he sprayed it pretty good. But like I said in the preview breakdown, that they don't really grow the rough really awfully bad around here. So as long as he can keep it dry, I think he'll be all right. So 7,200 Gooch, check mark. Another guy who almost won me some money if he'd have made just a couple of shorter putts, Chris Kirk at 7K. And this is an early price release bonus, I think. No way if DK pricing came out today, he's 7K. He's probably pushing 8K easily. So he's a lock and load. He's been outstanding. He's another guy that the only concern I might have is if he's been grinding a little too hard with these close finishes and he might be mentally drained. And poor old boy is on the wagon nowadays, so he can't, throw back a couple of cold beers after the day's over. But real proud of him for that bounce back, though. It could have really just ended his whole career. So good on you, Chris. He ranks 10th in my recent form model, and he's top 15 in just about everything but fairways gained and approach. But he gained 4 on approach at API, so I think he's poised. I'm not sure of course, I just mentioned I'm not dropping down into the 6Ks. So check my Twitter. I've actually already posted a DraftKings value menu. It's kind of like I'm doing Burger King with the little crowns, like DraftKings Burger King value meal. And then on my Yahoo post, I'm kind of like doing like McDonald's, like McBilly Hose. It's kind of nerdy and stupid, but it's something. And then I got like little French fries and shit in there. So, lame or cool, whatever. It don't matter to me. This is just lastly, before I shut her down, let's take a look real quick and see if I've got another. Yeah, there's another model for you. And Abraham Answer, I forgot to mention. He is kind of a course comp kind of guy, Pete Dye kind of guy. He hasn't been playing really well lately, but this is a place he can show up and do really well. He's 7,600. So he's right in that wheelhouse with the rest of those guys, and he might be a great pivot play. So he's a guy I'll keep an eye on. And so that'll do him. Appreciate you checking me out. Follow me on Twitter and give us a like and a subscribe to the channel. So just real quick, I'm going to probably try and upgrade my equipment before the Masters. I'm kind of feeling like if I just get a little bit faster processor, I'll be able to do a hell of a lot more with what I'm doing here instead of just slideshows and whatnot. So be on the lookout for some upgrades, and you know, practice makes perfect. So thank you all for joining me. And until next time, peace.